Hi guys, this is Unit 3, the Human Body Systems and Senses, and this is Lesson 3. We're continuing the skeletal system, but today we're talking about the appendicular bones. Alright, yesterday we talked about the axle bones, and today we're talking about the appendicular bones. Here's some vocabulary you will see in the read aloud. Appendages. Appendages are smaller body parts that are attached to the main body, things that are attached to or a part of a more significant or important thing. Appendages. Appendicular bones. Bones that are attached to and hang from the main part of a skeleton. A femur is the long bone found in the thigh bone. A fibula is the outer bone next to the tibia between the knee and the ankle. Remember, we learned yesterday to remember a fib is a small lie, so fibula is the smaller of the two bones in the lower part of the leg. Joints. Your joints are the area where two bones come together, where two or more things come together. Ligaments. Ligaments are short and tough bands of flexible tissue that connect two bones or pieces of cartilage and hold together joints. All right, one of you asked about how bones are connected. Well, now we know they're connected with ligaments, and we'll learn more about that today. And then the tibia is the inner and larger bone between the knee and ankle. It's also called the shin bone. So if you remember, cells are the building blocks of life, right? Cells are what every living thing is made of, and you need a microscope to be able to see them. So there's cells, tissues, and organs in your body. So do our human body systems work independently, or are they interconnected? Right? They're interconnected. They work together. They need each other to make the body do what it's supposed to. They're interconnected. What do you remember about the bones in your skeletal system? Well, yesterday we talked about the axle bones, right? And the axle bones consist of the skull, the spine, and rib cage. They're the very middle bones of your body. They support the center of your body. They're also important because they protect the vital organs in your body, such as your heart, your lungs, your brain. They're very important to protect your vital organs. Why is the skeletal system important to the human body? Well, it's a framework that keeps the body from toppling over. It keeps us how we're supposed to be. So today you're going to hear about different types of bones and joints. What do you think the largest bone in the human body is? And where is it located? What's your guess? What's the largest bone in the human body? And then predict what the strongest joint in the human body is and where it's located. What do you think the strongest joint is? So listen carefully to learn about appendicular bones and joints and to hear if your predictions were correct. Listen carefully for the main ideas or important points of the read aloud, and we will discuss those later. Alright, so today we're talking about the skeletal system. You see your skeleton back down here. Then we have our muscular system, which we'll talk about another day, and our nervous system, which we'll also talk about quite a bit. Alright, and then our other systems are our digestive system, our excretory system, our circulatory system, and our respiratory system. But we won't talk about those as much. Hello again. Before we begin, I want to know who is able to correctly spell the big V word that we talked about the last time we met. Who would like to try to spell vertebrae? Wow, I'm impressed. Today we're going to talk about another big word, appendages. I was quite small the first time I ever heard that word. I used to cling to my mother's leg all the time and would often hear her say, "Ricardo is my little appendage." I never knew what it meant. Do you? Now, years later, it makes perfect sense to me. An appendage is something that is attached to or that hangs from something larger. Today you are going to hear about the other bones in your skeletal system, the bones in the legs and arms that hang from your axial skeleton. These bones in your appendages are called appendicular bones because they hang on to the larger bones of the body. Let's try saying those words together. Appendicular bones. Let's begin near the top of your skeleton with your arm bones. What are your arms attached to? What do they hang down from? If you answered shoulders, you are right. Your shoulders are made up of several different bones. Look at this picture to see how arm bones are connected to the axial skeleton. The large, flat, triangular bones that you see in the picture are called scapula, or shoulder blades. Some of you may remember that the word vertebrae is plural for vertebra. Do you think the word scapula is singular or plural? That's right, it's plural. It's actually your two scapulae. Your scapulae is plural for your scapula. They are sometimes referred to as wings because they stick out a little from your back. Now look at this picture. The long bones that connect your scapulae to the top of your rib cage are called clavicles or collarbones. Shirt collars cover your collarbone. So take your finger and put them where your shirt collar is and see if you can touch your clavicles or your collarbone, right? It sticks out a little bit usually. All right. So you can see here highlighted in pink your clavicle, your collarbone. Let's move down your body to the base of your axial skeleton. How are your legs attached to your spine? Legs need a hanger too. Their hanger is called the pelvis, a group of strong bones illustrated in this picture. So you can see that they are red in this picture. Put your hands on your hips and see if you can feel the bone that sticks out at your sides. These are your hip bones or pelvic bones. Your pelvic bones are large bowl-shaped bones that protect your bladder and intestines, very important organs to help your body function properly. Your pelvis is connected to your spine by the sacrum, a triangular bone that sits between the two hip bones of your pelvis. You can see the diagram over here about our leg bones. Leg bones and arm bones are a lot alike, but leg bones are thicker and longer than arm bones. In fact, the longest, heaviest, and strongest bone in your entire body is in your leg. Does anyone know the name of this bone? It's your thigh bone or femur. Your femur is connected to your pelvis and extends all the way down to your knee. If you look at the picture, you will see two bones in the lower part of the leg. The larger of the two bones, the one in the front of the leg, is called the tibia or shin bone. The thinner bone behind it is called the fibula. Both the tibia and the fibula connect the knee to the ankle. Ooh, that's a lot of information. I suspect that some of you are wondering how all these different bones are connected. Sure, they're attached to hangers, the scapulae, and the pelvis, but how? Are they glued in place? What do you think? Are they glued? The points where two bones meet is called a joint. The point where they meet. Without joints, your body would not be able to move. There are three main types of joints in your body: movable, immovable, and partially movable. In other words, some joints can move, some can't, and some move a little bit. Let's take a closer look at all three. The most movable joints in your body are ball and socket joints. Make a fist with one hand, and then wrap the fingers of your other hand around it. Your fist is like the ball in the socket of your other hand. You can move the fist around easily inside the other hand, can't you? This type of joint is found in both your hips and your shoulders. Ball and socket joints allow you to swing your arms and legs in a full circle. Other movable joints, called hinge joints, work like the hinges of a door. Your jawbone has hinges. Can you think of any other hinge joints in your body? Joints that move only back and forth instead of turning in a full circle? What do you think? Your knees, elbows, ankles, wrists, and knuckles all have hinge joints. In fact, your knee joint connecting your femur to your tibia and fibula is the biggest and strongest joint in your whole body. It lets your body bend at the knees. Stand up and bend at the knees. Imagine trying to walk without those hinge joints. Can you walk around without bending your knees? It's a lot harder. Would you be able to go upstairs very easily? So think about your ball and socket joints like your shoulder, right? And how it can go in a circle. Whereas your knee, right, it can only go forward and backwards, right? It can't go side to side, really. Some joints permit no movement at all. These are called immovable joints because they lock bones together, forming solid bone as hard as a turtle shell. Can you think of an axle bone, of any axle bones that fit this description? Yes, your skull is made up of bones that are locked firmly in place, allowing no movement where the bones come together. The third type of joint in your body is the particularly movable kind, the ones that move a little bit, but not nearly as much as a ball and socket or hinge joint. Can anyone think of an example of a partially movable joint in your body? Remember when you took deep breaths and watched your chest move in and out? The joints where your ribs are joined to your breastbone are a good example of partially movable joints, right? When you breathe in and let more air in, they move out. And when you breathe out, right, they go back to where they're supposed to be. So they can kind of move, but they don't move as much as your arm does in your shoulder socket. Remember cartilage, the soft, gristly tissue found in your nose and backbone, in between your vertebrae and in your ear? Cartilage is found at the ends of bones where they connect with joints as well. This smooth, elastic tissue serves an important purpose. Try rubbing your palms together. Do you feel the heat? If bones and joints rubbed back and forth together like this, with nothing between your bones, would soon wear out. Instead, a smooth, slippery coating of cartilage covers bones where they meet joints, protecting them and helping them to last longer. We are tough straps of strong elastic tissue that binds bones together. Our name has 3 syllables and comes from a word meaning to tie. What are we? You can see from the diagram on the right. Ligaments. Cartilage protects your bones from rubbing together, but another connective tissue acts like straps wrapping around your joints to actually hold your bones together. These thick cords are called ligaments. Some are round like ropes, others are flat like ribbons, but they are extremely stretchy. Has anyone ever told you that he or she is double jointed? Double jointed people can bend their fingers farther back than other people, but they don't really have extra joints. The ligaments holding their joints together just stretches farther than normal. Is anyone here double jointed? So tell me in the afternoon meet, are any of you double jointed and want to show us? Ligaments and other protective tissues help prevent injuries to your bones. Nevertheless, bones still get injured and wear out. Humans are very active. Walking, running, jumping and playing puts stress on your bones. So what happens if you break a leg, sprain an ankle, or dislocate a joint? Often you must see a doctor, and sometimes your doctor will recommend an x-ray. Now that you have lots of information about the skeletal system, both the axle bones and the appendicular bones, let's take a look at this thing we call an x-ray. Ooh, look at those x-rays. Those are pretty cool. Have you ever had an x-ray before? These x-rays are of various parts of a human skeleton. An x-ray is an invisible light that can travel through the soft tissue of your body, but not through hard bone. After an x-ray passes through you, a picture is recorded on photographic film. Soft tissue appears black on the film because the x-ray passes right through it. But wherever the x-ray is blocked by bone, white areas appear on the picture, allowing doctors to find breaks more easily. X-rays were invented as a medical tool just over 100 years ago. The next time we meet, we'll discuss another important body system, one that works closely with your skeletal system to move your bones. Turn now and talk to your neighbor. See if you agree on the name of the system I'm talking about. We'll find out next time if you're right. Right, so take your guess. I think his shirt is a clue as to what we'll be talking about tomorrow. So were your predictions correct about the largest bone and the strongest joint? Why or why not? So if you remember, the largest bone was the femur, and your strongest joint is in your knee, connecting your femur to your fibula and tibia. So look at the diagram to the right. Can you see some of your appendicular bones? All right, you have your femur, your tibia, and your fibula. What is an appendage? An appendage is something that is attached to or hangs from something larger. What are appendages on the human body, and why are they called appendages? Your appendages are your arms and legs, and they're called appendages because they hang on to or attach to the larger section or trunk of your body. They're connected to your axle bones. What is the point called where two bones meet? They meet at a joint. What are the 3 main types of joints? We have movable joints, immovable joints, and partially movable joints. Why is cartilage important to the joints? Well, it's cartilage that's covering the bones at the joints. It protects the bones, helping them to last longer. What would happen if there was no cartilage at the joints? Bones would more easily become worn out. They'd rub together and they'd wear each other out. It's like a cushion. Do you remember, how does an x-ray work? Well, invisible light from an X-ray passes through tissue, but not bone. The image that the invisible light creates is recorded on film, allowing a doctor to check for many issues related to the bones. So it lets them see the bones so they can see if it's broken or what's going on. Why do you think it is more common to break an appendicular bone than an axle bone? Appendicular bones are more vulnerable because they are more exposed. They're used often to move about and play, right? You use your legs and your arms more to move around and do things than you do your axle bones, like your skeleton or your chest, your ribs, and your spine. If your body were a tree, which part of the tree would be your appendicular bones? Which part would be the axle bones? How would you be like a tree? The appendicular bones would include the limbs. It'd be like the branches and the leaves of a tree. And then your axle bones would be like the trunk of the tree, the middle of the tree. All right, our word for today is appendages. In the read aloud you heard Ricardo say, today we're going to talk about another big word, appendages. I used to cling to my mother's leg all the time, and I would often hear her say, Ricardo is my little appendage. Say the word appendages with me. Appendages. Appendages are smaller body parts attached to the main body. Spiders are able to crawl around quickly with their 8 appendages. How many appendages do insects and other animals have? What else can you think of that has appendages? What do you think? All right. Good job, guys. I hope you enjoyed learning about your appendicular bones today.